many people in politics or positions of power are now from minorities that 10, 20 years ago wouldn't ever get there, whether it's colour, gender, whatever.
That true.
Trans politicians and things like that.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's amazing they are definitely steps in the right direction. What I think is important for me, and this is me as an individual speaking, and also in turn a lot of GenderFunk's philosophy is that at GenderFunk we are not hating. We'll make jokes about it, but we are not hating straight white people at all. Like a lot of our crowd are straight white people, because this is a really important point for me, is that at the end of the day, you can't help how you're born. If you're born a straight old white person, well, you're not born old, but but yeah, if you're old now, you were born 60 years ago as a straight white person. You were born into that experience and you lived that experience and you were educated in that way. That's not your choice. You didn't choose that. So I don't hate you for being born and being educated that way. What is more important to me is to try and build a bridge and a connection for us to understand each other so we can make the world better for both of us. So I feel like there is a radical liberal movement that is like, screw the straight people, white people, they're evil. And, they're not the best, but they're not bad. They're not bad people. That's just how they were taught the world is. And we're not going to get anywhere by shouting at each other and creating distance. We need to have parties together, and that's what GenderFunk is. It's an invitation to like, hey, come and have a drink with us, party with us, and see that this is a great, fabulous thing, and maybe it will change your perspective. So that's why we did like the straight guys edition, and that's why like we are an inclusive space, is because I have nothing against anyone. I don't care what color you are. As long as you can't choose how you were born, your experience, but you can choose to change it when somebody provides you with different information, and you can choose to grow if someone has patience and gives you an opportunity to. If you decide to not grow and not be grateful of that patience, then you're a dick, and I will call you straight. But most people aren't. Most people that I meet that are white and straight, like, and I talk to them about this stuff, they're like, oh, cool, so what about this? They ask nice questions. And if we're shouting at straight people all the time, like, you've got my pronoun wrong, you've done this, they're not going to ask questions, and then they're not going to learn about us, and we can't be friends. And at the end of the day, we all got to live in this world, and there's more straight people than queer people, so we got to be nice to them.
Do you think that is, I don't want to say part of the problem, part of the challenge is you've talked a lot about the queer scene being inclusive of everyone.
My queer scene.
But so I'm not talking about your queer scene in general. And do you think that straight white people, to just lump them all into one generic group, that can be many people, do you think they feel, like they don't feel welcome and they don't feel inclusive, and the misconception is that they aren't welcome at these events, and then they are maybe thinking that I'm going to be yelled at if I say the wrong pronoun? Like, do you think that that's part of it as well?
I think it is two things. I think one, it's we're at a time where minority voices are really, really loud and very, very like strong, and I think a little bit aggressive sometimes. But I'm not judging that. We need that also. You need GenderFunk. My way of creating connection between the genders and the sexualities and stuff, and peace and happiness, is to create a party for us to all hang out together and get to know each other. That's valuable and that's needed. It's patience, it's understanding. But we also need people who are charging the march and being like, yo, listen to us. We need that. You do need both of those things. So I'm not discrediting the amazing work that people do across the world and those fierce people. They actually are some of the most inspiring people to me. It's just not my way. So I think because when you have such strong voices in minority groups who have been through, the worst hardships, I think straight people who are looking at them and going like, oh, they've already been through so much. If I question or ask a question, I might offend them. I don't want to offend this person who's been through a lot. I don't want to look like I'm being ignorant or stupid. And I think that's where one of the issues lies, is like being scared of being vulnerable and being scared of being ignorant. Everybody's ignorant. Ignorance isn't negative. The negative thing is if you choose to not try and heal your ignorance or learn more. So I think that's one of the issues, is people are too scared to ask questions out of offense, and that means there's no dialogue. So then there's no education, and we're not going to learn about each other.
No, I completely agree, and I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast, despite the fact that we've had gay people on, pansexual people on, and I've definitely told this with friends as well, so this isn't a secret. I used to be homophobic growing up,
So was I.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I
and
was
it's just because
homophobic.
it was a product of, my family are not homophobic, but maybe sometimes you'd hear the odd comment. I remember from like my grandparents were the best people in the world, be like, oh, there's that queer on the TV or something like that. And I've talked about this on the podcast. I grew up with football culture, male. I've joked about this with friends, and it still makes me laugh. The culture I grew up in was, if you had a half pint of beer because you didn't want to get too drunk, you're like, can I have a half pint of beer? Oh, what are you, gay? He's fucking gay. He's having a half pint of beer. And they're like, dude, I'm just having less beer than normal. But that kind of came from that. And then it is reassuring to hear what you say. That the thing is that you can be like that, but you have to change, right? And I went to America and I worked in a summer camp. And there was a guy who was a counselor there called Fred. He was a bisexual man. He was a cool guy. He was a dude. He was fine. As soon as I met him, I was like, and I guess it was that time in my life I was moved overseas. I was in America, like expanding my horizons. And instantly then I was like, oh, he's just a normal dude. I'm not homophobic anymore. I've been ridiculous and I've been brought up in this culture where it's just been, normal. So, but anyway, I never beat anyone up. I maybe said some rude things that I shouldn't have said, but apart from that, anyone I offended, I would apologise if I could meet you today, because I am a bit embarrassed about it, but I know it wasn't my fault. It was part of not my upbringing, the culture that I was brought up in. Not from my parents, definitely, not from my family. They're all very open. I have an aunt who's a lesbian and things like that, so it's not that, but I do think, as long as once you're provided with the information or a different way of thinking, you don't accept that, well then you're ignorant.
Yeah.
Or not ignorant, then you're just a bad person.
Exactly. And that's the tea. It's like, it's not what you have, it's what you do with it. And that's with anything. Like, it's like privilege as well. We talked about privilege earlier. Yeah, I'm privileged. It's not that I'm privileged. That's not bad. I mean, obviously it's bad in the sense of the world, of that it shouldn't be like that. But it's not bad that I have privilege. What's bad is that if I just sit there with privilege, like, it's what I do with my privilege that counts. And it's the same with that. It's like, I don't care who you were. I care about who you're trying to be. And if I can actively see you trying hard and asking questions to be a better person and to be more loving and kind, then I am here for you. You can ask me any question. I will never be offended, because it's coming from a place of kindness. And that is all I care about, is people being kind to each other. Like, you can scrap off all the pronouns and the he, she's, the straights, the whites, the colors. It doesn't matter. We're human beings that are being kind to each other. And that's what it does boil down to. Of course, that's a very easy, simple thing to say, because it is all confusing and all those things are in the world and are at play, and we do need to tackle them. So I think on the one hand, I feel like people who are interested in queer people and are interested in being kind and healing are too scared to ask questions out of offense. I think they're the nice people. I think on the other side, the people who kind of get angry at this kind of liberal queer uprising, and kind of like, what's the word? When there's like a scale of how privileged, there's a fancy word for it, but my vocabulary's gone out the window. Intersectionality. Intersectionality, this concept of like, it's a scale of privilege, basically. So like at the top, you've got the straight white man, and at the bottom, you've got like a trans Muslim person or whatever, and how like privileged or oppressed you are in society. So I feel that in particularly straight men, I feel like the problem with is that straight men or straight people straight white people in particular, feel that they are being attacked and asked to do more. And that's the issue, is like, why are you asking me to call you this brand? Why are you asking me to do this? Why are you asking me this? I don't have a problem with this. You're just asking all these things of me, and you're asking me to change. And I'm like, yes, bitch, I am asking you to change. And I think that's where the problem comes, is that straight people are not used to being asked to do things. Like, I mean, they are in like John, where they work very hard, they're human beings, but they're not used to, and they're
definitely
to
used
conform.
to other people changing for them.
Exactly, and that's because they don't have that perspective, they haven't lived that experience. And it's like, when I literally get real with people and I turn around, I'm like, I change myself 80% of the time for you when I'm out in the streets, because you can't handle me in my 100% authentic self, because it's way too fabulous for the structures of the straight world. And I change myself, I restrain myself for the first 23 years of my life because of this space that you own. And when all I ask for you is to call me a she, not me particularly, I'm using this as an example. All I'm asking is for you to call me a she. I don't feel like it's a big ask. And if you're not going to do that, you're a dickhead. Like, you're a really mean person that you really can't just call me a she. You can't change one word. When I've changed so much of myself to not make you feel uncomfortable, and I shouldn't have had to change myself. And I think that's the big problem, is that they're just not used to being asked to change. But we're demanding it. And like, I think there's also a problem with passivity, like in people being passive. Like, I had a friend visiting recently, and I love him to bits, and everything. He was asking all these questions from love and his heart and kindness. And he said, yeah, I'm asking all these questions, but, I'm totally cool with, like, the gay thing, and I'm cool with gay people, you can do what you want. Like, it's fine. Like, I haven't got a problem with it. I was like, that's lovely. That's not enough. That is not enough for me. It's okay for you to be passive and just be like, oh, okay, like, I'm cool. You can do whatever you want. But that isn't enough. You have the power. You are the person who needs to be beyond that. I need you to take action. I need you to be questioning at work. I need you to be questioning in the school. I need you to be saying, hey, teacher, why is this sex education only talking about straight people? Why is it not talking about gay people? Because the gay people are probably really scared in the corner to ask the questions, but you have the power. It's not enough to just be passive and say, we're cool with people doing what they want to do. You need to be working to be like, yo, I'm allowed to do whatever I want to do because I'm straight. Why can't queer people do it? How can we make this more accessible for queer people or people of color or people, trans people? That is what straight people need to be doing, is being more active in making the world a better place for everyone, because you've had the space for so long. We're trying really hard here. You can see us fighting. Don't you want to help us out, dude? Like, and then you'll get all of our fabulous color and creativity as well. Like, come on, girl, let's work together, hold hands, sing Kumbaya.
So I agree 100%. And speaking for myself, I think I fall into that passivity. I'm just like, I don't care. As long as you're happy, you can do whatever you want. I'm not out there fighting for rights for LGBTQI, or as Angie called them, the alphabet people. I'm not. But I think I would maybe say something if I saw something. But I'd probably fall into that category.
And I'm not asking you to like go out and be like protest and stuff. Like, I'm not asking that. It's just about being open to. It's about get knowledgeable. Do you know what I mean? Like, I lived in England, and I'd had one perspective my whole life living in that country, being the white privileged guy. So I was like, I need to grow. Like, I can't understand, and I'll never understand what it's like to be Asian and, and to not have my white privilege. I'll never get it. But by moving to Asia, I have grown phenomenally. And I'm not saying you got to move to the other side of the world either. Like, I'm not asking with it, but I'm asking if you meet
definitely broadens the horizons, and that's without a doubt. And I think definitely I would be a totally different person if I hadn't left Scotland. And
for me, it's like, what I'm asking is like, just ask questions, get knowledge about it. Like, if you don't understand, like, oh, I don't get this whole he, they, she, transgender thing, but you can do what you want. It's like, why don't you just ask about it? Be like, okay, what is transgender then? Can you explain it to me? Because then if it's explained to you, you then understand it better. So then you can meet these people better. And when you interact with them in the workplace or in society, you can have a better connection. And then if your friends are being ignorant of it, you can educate your friends. Like, it's simple. I'm not asking you to jump up and move on the other side of the world. I'm not asking that. I'm just asking you to ask a couple of questions. That's literally just get woke, like, learn. Like, that's the thing, is like, society is about us all working together and being in the same space. And if you're not putting in the effort to learn about these people who are different from you, then you're not really playing society. You're not stepping up, and therefore, in my concept, you don't have a right to be part of society, like mainstream, fun, happy society, if you're not putting in the work to learn about the people within your society.
And would you say that passivity is kind of like a description, I would say, of the attitude in Saigon, at least to the alphabet people community, that it's passive, because I know from my conversations, like you've had the previous episode with Daniel, it's that people don't really care, which is fine. It's a start, right? It's like, okay, if that's you. But I don't see that action to then being inclusive. So I think that's maybe a description of Saigon at the moment in general.
True. I mean, it's difficult for me to comment on mainstream Vietnamese society because I'm not really in it that much. I'm a very alternative underground hoe, and I'm very happy with it. I feel it at the moment, maybe like, not within the family. Within the family unit, it's extremely different. Within the Vietnamese family unit, being queer in a Vietnamese family is a whole different story, and it's something that obviously I've not experienced, and I can't really comment on because I don't know what it's like. Ask a Vietnamese queer person, you have. So Listen to
and
the
if you
podcast.
haven't,
Girl, I got you, girl.
Go back to season 1, listen to the episode with Daniel Dewan. We actually go into detail. He's a gay man, out and proud, but he comes from a very, very traditional Vietnamese family from the north originally, which is, from what we've learned on the podcast, even more conservative and traditional than the south. So if you want to hear from his perspective, go back and listen to that episode. But yeah, sorry, continue.
No worries. I was about to do that whole spiel that you just did. I was like, yeah, I've listened to it. It was really interesting for me,
I was interested. I've never asked anyone on the podcast, what did you think of a previous podcast episode? What did you get from that episode?
I found it I found it interesting because he's queer in a very different way to me. I'm like full blown, woo, party, rainbows, pink, gay,
I mean, I thought he was straight when I met him, he's not.
He's more, but that's a really important lesson is like, queer people are just people.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me like...
Well, that's why I stopped being homophobic, because it was just, he's just a person.
Just a dude.
It's
like,
just, that is literally
people,
it, you know?
I've had that at so many parties, like there'll be a straight guy and I'll be chatting to him, we're like, da-da-da-da, and then he's like, you're the first gay guy I've talked to, and you're alright. I'm like, I'm just a dude. Dude, I play computer games, I hang out with my mates, they're straight, like my mates, like, I'm just a dude.
But
I'm just fabulous.
He's from the same place that I'm from, that you've never been exposed to it. So even growing up, none of my friends have come out 20 years after school. There was one guy in our class I know came out, but I was never friends with him. So I just didn't grow up with that. So I probably would be that guy as well, being like, you're the first gay guy I've met, you're really cool. That would be me.
And that's exactly what I'm about to talk about. That's the tea, you've got it right there, is when I talk to that guy at the party, the straight guy, I'm a positive example of a queer person. And when they have that reference point of, hey, this is a gay person, they're really, really nice, that changes their opinion. And I feel like that's where Vietnam is at, is that when I am seen by local Vietnamese people, I feel like mainstream local Vietnamese people, there's no aggression, which is a very beautiful thing, I have to say. I prefer Asian culture, it's less aggressive.
I was going to ask just quickly, have you faced much discrimination here?
No, never. Like, perhaps, but it's in another language, so I don't care. No, what I love is, like, Asian culture is non-aggressive, and it is beautiful. Like, when I had a 2-year break from the West, I went back to the West, and I was like, whoa.
You find it
the
more
West is such an aggressive society. I mean, it's super capitalist, it's like, dog eat dog. That person's different to you. It's super aggressive. Like, you go out to the nightclub scene, there's always fights happening, people are drunk, and all these problems come from gender. However...
That's for another podcast.
It is. It's what I do love about Vietnam is, like, the non-aggression. Again, different within the family scene. I'm going to always refer to that because I want people to know, I'm not saying that everything's cool, because it definitely isn't. It's just not my story to tell, and I'm very aware of it. I'm just telling you about my experience. So I think at the moment in Vietnam, when I'm viewed or queer stuff is viewed, it's kind of viewed in a comedic, kind of entertaining way. Oh, the mysterious, the elusive, the exotic. It's like, what is this? This man with a big wig, and So it's seen as, like, in a very light-hearted way, which is fine.
But not taken seriously.
It's not taken serious. And then I think on the other side is most of the reference points that people get in the world of queer people aren't always positive. I feel like when you are given a lot of the queer stuff in the world, is whenever there's dialogue about queer stuff, it's like, how the poor queers, or talking about HIV and unsafe sex, or talking about mental health problems, etc., or fighting for rights, which are all valid things. Those are things that are happening, and we do need to talk about them, and there does need to be a dialogue. However, my life is amazing. Like it's color and creativity and diversity. We need more of those reference points for people to see, because we need people to see queer. We need people to see. We need in mainstream society lesbian married couples who have a dog and have been together for 40 years, and they work 9-to-5 jobs, and on the weekend they go for a nice walk and they go for lunch, and that's their life. And to show little baby lesbians that if you want that life, you can have that life. You don't need to be a scissoring crazy lesbian. Like, I mean, I'm sure they do that as well, but you can have whatever life you want. It doesn't matter how you're born. You can have whatever life you want. I mean, within reason, again, the privilege thing, there are some people in the world who are born, they can't have any life they want. But I mean, like, you can lead your life to a certain extent and degree in any way that you want to. Like, if you are gay, it does not mean you need to have a fan and be covered in sequins and glitter you can literally love football and wear flip-flops. Like, all of that is made up. That's a construct. It's an idea surrounding sexuality or gender. But what we just need, and I think that isn't in society enough, is positive examples of queer people leading positive, normal, happy lives, which means straight people don't see that we're just normal people living our straight, happy lives, therefore they can't connect to us. All they see is like, oh, the problems, the issues, we need to deal with these things. And then for all the little gays, they're just not given references of happy lifestyles they can have, and they're trapped. They're like, oh, I'm gay, my life is now over, I can't be married. And it also, so we just need more queer idols, more queer references, visibility. You need visibility.
And so, just to go back a point, because I hate leaving a point unanswered, Daniel's episode, what did you take from that then?
I took from it, I think for me it was just really important to hear like his experience as a Vietnamese person within the family scene, because of course I have heard the similar stories, similar but totally different, from my local Vietnamese friends and my drag children. But just to hear like, you know, him being so like out and proud, as you say, but still made decisions based on his family's situations, which of course I'm not judging of at all. That's his experience. So I thought it was a fascinating, like, dichotomy, is that the right word? Like, I am proud and I am leading my life. At the same time, I'm going to take some sacrifices because I care about these people and they're not in that space right now. And I think that's a very beautiful thing, like, for people, because it's something that I don't do. I am not going to sacrifice any part of myself anymore for let's say, for example, my dad. Like, my father, like, when I went back, my dad really wants to have a relationship with me, and I have no negative feelings towards my father at all. Like, totally cool with him. When I was younger, he was definitely a big part in how my negative feelings about myself and not being accepting of myself and being feminine and stuff. But I know that wasn't his fault. He was born into that situation and that mindset, and I have full compassion and understanding and forgiveness for him, and I have no negativity towards him. At the same time, I spent 20 years of my life being wrapped up in negative thoughts that came from you, which came from another source. I'm now at a point in my life where I've formed my own families. I have limited time and energy, and I know you want me to go to the pub with you and your mates, but I ain't got time for it, babes. I'm sorry. And that isn't me being mean. That's me building and constructing my own life story that's outside of what society tells me I should do. Because I feel that what is lucky about being queer is when you're young and you're told queer is wrong, gay is wrong, and then you finally flip the switch, like, oh, there's nothing wrong with being queer. Phew. Then you're like, hang on, society was wrong about this thing. What else have they been wrong about? And that's the tease. Like, queer people, when people look at queer people, they think, oh, they're crazy with their costumes and they're doing all this crazy sex stuff. It's like, not all of us, for starters, but yes, we are, because we unlocked one of the lies is that, no, being gay is not wrong. So then, because we've discovered one thing that society told us wasn't wrong, we then start to experiment with other things. And we're like, okay, people have told me orgies are wrong. Why don't I try it? I try it as long as you're being safe, sensible. Orgies are not wrong. There's nothing wrong with having an orgy. People have told me wearing a dress if your man is wrong. Put a dress on. There's nothing wrong with this either. So it's like, the reason queer people, I feel, are doing all these crazy things is because we are experimenting we're outside of what society has told us is right, because we unlocked that truth, that lie, at a very young age. So yes, I am doing things that are all outside of your references and your frameworks, because I've realized your frameworks are rules that do not exist. They are ideas created by straight people, straight white people, and I'm not playing your games no more. I tried your ways, it bored me to death. Because this thing, people are like, would you want to be normal and straight? And I'm like, would I want to?
Someone ever said that to you?
Oh yeah, all the time. Like, people are like, if you would get the choice, like, oh yeah, it's normal. Like, nine and negative. They don't mean it in a mean way. But, and people say like, oh yeah, we're here to help you make it normal. I'm like, I don't want to be normal. If normal is 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and then watching television every evening, and like on the weekend, like going for like a couple of drinks and getting drunk on a Friday, I do not want. You can keep your normal. No, thank you, no, ma'am. I have my receipt. I want my life back. my life is fabulous. Like, I get to create things. I meet the most interesting people who are so supportive. I learn constantly. I'm doing cool stuff. Like, my life is fabulous because I'm choosing my life. I'm not accepting the life that's been dictated to me. Like, this is how you need to lead your life. You have to buy all this shit to be happy. You need to get married at 20. You need to do this. You need to do that. I don't need to do anything. I want to be happy, and I will build my happiness through structures that I create because I'm not harming anyone. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's a bigger part of GenderFunk. With GenderFunk, I'm exploring just the gender part of that, but really, like, me as a person, I want that to be the first stepping stone for people to then start shifting everything else up and being like, stop just accepting what's been told of you and how you should lead your life and build your own life. And you will be so happy and you'll meet so many cool people. And if the life you want is 9 to 5 and watching TV in the evenings, that's fine as long as you're happy. I don't care.
My final question, we're going to wrap up and then we're going to move to the questions that we finished the episode with. We're living in a very interesting time, right? So even for me, I mentioned to you before we started, I feel like there's a generational shift happened within my generation. We grew up, and even yourself as well, you're not that much younger than me, dominated by old white men, right? And we're still living in that, but it's slowly changing. There's more minority voices. Minorities are speaking up, as you said, and they have loud voices, and that's great for every minority, and it is changing. Where do you see then the future of society 20, 30 years? Because it's not going to be the same. We know that. It's not going to be old, rich white men ruling the world.
I feel like the world now is becoming right. I think before it was like loads of little camps, like loads of little minority camps, loads of little liberal camps, loads of little in-between camps. I feel like now the world is just shifting into people who want to be nice to each other and people who do not want to be nice to each other. Like, and that is the shift. It's like a lot of our minority groups, you know, we're all cool. We just want equality for all. And there's so many straight people. The majority of straight people, I feel the majority of straight people want that as well. They are happy with people being themselves and they want equality. On the other hand, the other side of the spectrum are just people who don't want to change. And so I feel in 30 years, I feel like there's going to be more, the particulars are going to be less relevant. What's going to be more relevant is, am I being a kind person? Are people being equal? Like,
well, I listened to a podcast which you'd never believe. It's called Football, Feminism, and Everything in Between. Have you heard of it?
No.
So it's Alistair Campbell. You know, he used to be Tony Blair's communications director back in the Labour, heady days of New Labour in the late 90s. And his daughter, Gracie Campbell, is a stand-up comedian and she's a feminist activist. And so they have a podcast together. He's an old, white, rich, entitled, privileged man. She's admittedly a young, white, and privileged female, but she's a massive feminist activist. So they talk about football, which is his passion, and they talk about feminism, which is her passion, and everything in between. And I found it so interesting. I feel like I've learned a lot from it. And they interview people and they ask them, how much of a football fan are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And then they ask, how much of a feminist are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And they interview like really different people. Like they interview a Premier League manager, Sean Dyche. Then they interview other feminist activists. And so the answers are interesting. But she boils it down to everyone. Feminism means equality. Do you believe in equality for men and women? If you do, then you're a feminist. And similar to what we talked about, there's other people who are activists who campaign, and there's other people who can be maybe passive, who are like, yeah, I mean, I believe in equality for women. I'm maybe not doing much about it, but I believe in that. And so, I don't know where I'm going with that. Where did we lift off?
I can take you from that though. It's like, that's the tea. It's like, from my experience, I grew up in a very working class family. My parents weren't educated. My school never taught me about LGBT stuff. Not once in my entire education was LGBT discussed. Not once. I mean, until I went to college. So you can imagine, for 16 years of my life, no one in my family would talk about my current gay stuff. No one in my education system. My government never talked about gay stuff. So for 16 years, I was completely lost. I had no one to talk to about these things. I was terrified. And to be that young and going through such massive mental trauma is totally unacceptable. Your brain is so fragile at that point in your life, and it's caused damage forever. I'm a crazy bitch. Luckily, I used it in the right way. I was then, of course, lucky enough to have a good education. I was even luckier to rebel and go crazy and search for something. And I ended up finding this festival scene where people gave me this space that I've talked about before to find myself and experience myself. And when we talk about passivity and being passive, I don't even know if passivity is a word. I've probably made that shit up, but I'm English. I can make words up. It's fine.
There's a definition.
We originated the language.
There's the definition of white privilege, right there.
It's a RuPaul's Drag Race joke.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's like, look, I understand that I'm privileged, and I'm very lucky on my journey to have found myself and to be in my power. So it's like, okay, I've got it now. I'm cool with myself. What am I going to do about it? Am I just going to be like, yeah? But I didn't. I worked really hard to get to it, and then I carried on working. I came here and I worked really, really hard to give it to more people. And that's just it. It's just, that's kindness. It's just giving to other people. It's like whatever you've learned or grown, passing on through various different ways. And as long as people do that, then we will reach equality and we will reach nice places. If everyone's just open to helping and giving and supporting, then you're going to get there. But it requires work, and lots of the white straight people are very lazy. They're not. They work very hard in England. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are working super hard in their day jobs. They are. Like, I just think it's very important. Myself personally, as a queer person, I find it very important to recognize the struggle of white straight people, because it is a massive struggle. Just to talk about gender very quickly, gender is outside of sexuality. Men are told they have to be strong. They're told they have to, they're told they shouldn't show emotion because then they'll be weak. They shouldn't be vulnerable. And
have a half pint of beer.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
So then what happened? You're a human being. You're supposed to show emotion. You're supposed to let things out. You're supposed to cry if you feel sad. If as a man, we bring up our males to be like, not let out emotions, all these emotions are trapped inside them. And then obviously they release it when they have a pint at the pub, and it's through anger. And look around. All the men are beating each other up in pubs when they're drunk. So look at the struggle that straight white men are going through. They are going through struggles, and we need to open a space.
Rates, I think, are definitely like what's the word? Definitely a
thing
result.
Yeah,
they're definitely a result of that. You look at. I've thought about this before. You know, yeah. I guess we've talked about the straight white male, and they are maligned, but they definitely have their own issues that aren't talked about enough, and male suicide is one of them. And where does that come from? You know, but let's not get into that because
I will go on for 4
yeah,
hours.
we all.
Sorry, yeah,
that's all right.
We can finish. Sorry, I'm really interesting.
No, it's fine. And I hope people listen. I know this is for all the listeners listening. I know my episodes are long, and it's something I've thought about. Most of my episodes run over an hour. I blame it on me being Scottish, but I do find my guests really interesting, and I find it really hard. I can't think of how we would have made this shorter. You know what I mean? Like, the time just flies by. So, if you are listening, I'm sorry if it's long. I hope you're enjoying it. We might make this into 2 parts, because I think it might get people to listen more.
I love a threesome.
So we'll see how it goes. You want me to do 3 parts then?
I said I love a threesome. 2 parts and me.
There you go.
It's a threesome.
So we're gonna finish up, because I do feel we could keep talking. We're going to do the final questions I ask everyone at the end of every episode. What kind of bike do you drive? Because this is 7 million bikes. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with Saigon traffic? I
have a Yamaha Nova.
No.
Is that how I say it?
I think so.
It's a cute story though. It's called the White Rose, which is after my friend Lucy Sedgwick. She was the first best friend I made when I came to Vietnam, and she's from Sheffield, so I call my bike the White Rose in her honour. She doesn't live here anymore. And actually, one of my really close friends, Vinny from Europe and my festival scene, he drove it from Hanoi. He bought it in Hanoi, drove it to Ho Chi Minh City.
Nova lasted that long?
Yeah.
As well?
No, she is fierce. The White Rose is fierce. So he was in my house, and he actually DJ'd at the first GenderFunk for me, and he was part of my festival scene back home, so he just gave me so much confidence. So there's so much meaning in it. And then he was on my bed on his phone, I was on the floor, and I'm on my floor like posting in bike groups, like, I'm looking to buy a bike, and he's like, are you looking to buy a bike? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm trying to sell the bike that's in your house. I'm like, dude. So he sold it to me. So I have the bike. I love it to bits. I got it cleaned yesterday, actually. And I deal with Saigon traffic because I have an alternative lifestyle, I don't have to be out at rush hour. So I just don't drive at rush hour. I plan my things to be outside.
Like, sometimes if I've been out late, not often, I've driven home at like 1 a.m. or something like that, and it's like, oh my god, it's like a different world. It's just nobody out, right? Yeah.
I just drive between like 10 and 3, and then after half 6, 7, and I don't really get into it. And when I do, I just breathe, meditate.
With a mask on, I hope.
I need to get a new one. I've just landed. I've been here 2 weeks, so I need to get one.
EQ blue mask. We've talked about this.
I know, but my health is my last priority. I'm a slave to fashion. I'm a slave to glamour, and drag kills you.
Fashion or glamour or anything without your health. Anyway, I'll get off.
True. I know.
I know. I'm being a little like eternal now. Right. Oddest thing you've seen on a bike.
A giant mirror, like a massive mirror, and I was like,
I've seen that, and I was behind it.
Yeah, I was behind it. I was like, oh, honey, I look good.
That's a good one. You got 24 hours off, no GenderFunk, no being fabulous. Well, you can be fabulous, of course, but you just got 24 hours off to relax in Saigon. Tell me what you do.
Everyone's gonna laugh at this. I would get to the Korean spa, the Golden Lotus, really early. I'd probably have a light breakfast. I'd go to the Golden Lotus, Korean spa, sauna, spa, meditate for a few hours. Then I'd go get a nice lunch somewhere, vegetarian lunch.
Where would you go?
I would go to the little 25k Kom Chai place, called Lucky's. It's by Tandon Market. Then I would probably go to some of my favourite coffee shops like Things or Mockingbird, which are on Ton Tat Tam, and they're like a little cool warehousey thing. And I would sit, I would read, maybe watch some drag stuff, some art stuff. Then I'd go for a nice dinner with some friends. Maybe I'd go somewhere fancy like Anan's or something, because I rarely treat myself to stuff like that. I like District Federals as well, actually, a lot, because they have really good margaritas.
Their margaritas
they're gorgeous.
They're so strong as well, right?
I love them. They're smaller now, though. I came back after 3 months. They're tiny.
I haven't been in a while, really.
No, complain.
Yeah, District Federal, if you're listening, make your margaritas bigger.
Fuck your drag. And then I would probably go for drinks at my new favorite place is 289E. Oh my god, what's the address? I don't even know.
We can put a link.
It's a cute little queer bar that I've just found, or I might go. Yeah, so I do that, and then maybe in the evening I would try and catch a drag show with my friends, and then probably go home, smoke a joint, and listen to Erykah Badu.
Sounds like a good day. Right, now you've got a week off. Where do you go in Vietnam?
I would go to the north. I still haven't been to Hoi An or Sapa or Halong Bay or anywhere. I've been so dedicated on GenderFunk. I didn't have a vacation for 2 years. That's why I went home, because I was so ill. I worked so much. Yeah. So I'm very tied to the city or drag, where drag's been taking me. Like I've been to Taipei recently with it, or to Cambodia and stuff. So I would go to the north.
Yeah, but the north is amazing.
And see it.
I definitely recommend it. And last question, do you have a hidden gem in Saigon that you can share?
I do, and I literally found it very recently, but I can't even...
It's so hidden that you don't know where it is yourself.
I do! No, there's this on 289E, and I can't remember the street name, but we'll post it in the link. There's this cute bar, you have to go up the stairs, my friend owns it, and it's fabulously decorated, and it also has, they have different artists exhibiting their work there. My other hidden gem would be Things Cafe or Mockingbird. They're in the same complex. And there's loads of little independent fashion stores there. I'm super into independent stuff. Screw all that mass consumerism. So go and chill and have a little coffee or a fabulous drink in there. They're beautifully decorated.
Awesome. And then if anyone is still listening, because we've been talking for so long, I challenge anyone to go back to the beginning, listen again, and you have to take a shot of booze every time Ricardo says fabulous.
You'll be drunk, you'll be dead.
We turn it into a drinking game. Yeah. I think you might die.
Yeah.
But that's okay. This has been a fabulous episode. Thank you so much. Tell us what's coming up with you. What projects have you got going on?
So, GenderFunk, of course, we do regular events. We have 4 different events that we do. We have our main show, which is a space for you to come and explore your gender, have fun, and hopefully take that back to your normal life and lead a happier life. We have Just Drag, the smaller, earlier drag show to just enjoy the classic art of drag. We have Saigon is Burning and Hanoi is Burning, which are a platform for new artists. Super fun event to come to. And soon we'll actually be doing relaunching it and doing some new cool stuff. And then we also have Don't Funk It Up, which is a pop LGBT bangers club night with drag battles. So drag queens do lip sync battles. On top of that, we do a lot of community stuff. And actually, we've just restructured GenderFunk to do we're splitting it into the event side and then into the community sides because we want GenderFunk to be more led by the local Vietnamese young artists that we work with. So now 3 times a year we will be doing a community project, which will be chosen by the community, so expats and local Vietnamese working together. They will structure the whole thing themselves, so I have no idea what's going to happen. It could be exhibitions, it could be pantomimes. So we're putting drag into different formats for a community purpose.
I'm sorry, you may be able to hear Biscuit snoring in the background, but that's quite a common thing on this podcast. She's my co-host. Just quickly tell everyone, where can they find more information?
You can go on to GenderFunk on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, #GenderFunk. I'm so terrible at hashtagging. Oh my God. John Mark's going to kill me. #GenderFunk. You can also check me out, Esta Ricardo, at Esta Ricardo on Instagram and Facebook. I always share the events there. Come along. It's a fabulous experience. And we're also a good space to find out about loads of different art that's happening in Saigon because we collaborate with a lot of the scene because we do have a lot of power, actually. We're not only the biggest party in the queer scene, we're the biggest party full stop. So isn't that cool that we've taken over? The straights are gagging for us, darling. So yeah, come have fun.
And we'll post all of this in the show notes so you can go and click the link and find out where to go.
Yeah, and just remember, GenderFunk, I'm Esta Ricardo, I'm an individual, but GenderFunk is you. GenderFunk is all the people that come. And the main message GenderFunk is, as you can probably tell through what I've spoke about, is you do you. As long as it's safe and not harming others. She's doing her right now. She's doing her.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to leave it. Ricardo, thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well.
Thanks,
Fabulous
Biscuit,
questions.
for contributing to the end of the podcast. Thank you very much. It's been amazing. And enjoy the rest of your day. Be fabulous.
Come on, you.
Thanks for listening to the second part of episode 8 with Ricardo. I hope you enjoyed that. Definitely very interesting, and I really felt like we could have kept talking and talking. So I'm glad I split it into 2. I hope it made it easier to listen to. And you never know, maybe we'll have him back on again for another chat because there was a lot more that we wanted to explore. And when we chatted after the episode, he wanted to talk a lot more about things like gender fluidity and things like that. So we'll maybe come back to that. We'll see how it goes. I hope we don't get too many emails from angry white men. I'm a white man. I feel very privileged in life. Ricardo's a white man, so nobody was having a go. That's just the reality of the world that we live in, isn't it? So thank you again. Hope you're enjoying the show. Send any feedback to Facebook, or you can go on Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Give us a like on Facebook. Follow on Instagram. You can send me an email, 7millionbikes@gmail.com. Thank you to Lewis Wright for the amazing theme music that you can hear, and to Lane Wynn for helping me design the cover art. Make sure you subscribe where you get your podcasts, and so you can tune in for future episodes. And now we're getting deep into season 2, so we got a wealth of content behind us. You can go all the way back to season 1. You can start at the beginning with J.K. Hobson. You can go all the way through and listen to some super interesting people that live here in Saigon. I'm having a thoroughly good time making this podcast, talking to people. I hope you're enjoying listening to it as well. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're like me, you may use your laptop at places where you have to use public Wi-Fi. This opens you up to digital snoopers. It's a massive problem. It can be your internet service provider, or you know who, looking at what you do online, or a cyber criminal trying to steal your bank passwords or credit card info, or even a hacker at the next table trying to steal your sensitive data. These days, it is vital that you keep your data safe. NordVPN keeps all of these snoopers away. It makes your internet activity private, protects you from accessing dangerous websites that are phishing for your data, and lets you enjoy your favorite content securely, even while away from home. And it's easy to use
even I could use it. I've actually been using NordVPN for years now here in Vietnam, and I'm excited to be an affiliate partner with them. I've used NordVPN to watch Netflix, BBC, Disney Plus with ease, and I also know that my information and data are safe from prying eyes, whoever they may be. Join now and you'll get 68% off and 3 months free when you go to my link, nordvpn.com/SMB. Just again, for those hard of hearing, nordvpn.com/SMB. The link is also in the show notes. I know nobody checks them out, but go check that out and you can get the link from wherever you're listening to this podcast. As an affiliate partner, it also means that I will get a small commission when you sign up, but at no extra cost to you. So not only will you be getting a great deal through 7 Million Bikes, you get a great VPN and you'll be supporting 7 Million Bikes podcast. Stay safe online and enjoy the shows you love. Any questions, just let me know. You know how to get in touch with me. And thanks for listening to this show. Cheers.